My girlfriend started talking in her sleep, but the things she said weren't hers to know. The first time she said my name in her sleep, I didn't think anything of it. We'd been dating for almost a year, living together for 3 months, and it was the kind of domestic quiet I hadn't realized I'd been craving. Long evenings cooking pasta, her music playing low in the background, her voice humming along, sometimes off-key but warm. The apartment smelled like rosemary and coffee. It felt safe, so when I woke up to hear her whisper, "Eli, don't go there," I just thought she was dreaming. Except my name isn't Eli, it's Ryan. At first I laughed it off the next morning. "Rough dreams?" I asked. She blinked, pouring coffee, her hair still messy from sleep. "Why? You said something in your sleep. Sounded like you were warning someone." "Eli, I think." Her hand froze on the coffee pot for half a second, too fast for most people to notice. Then she smiled. "Probably just a random dream. I don't even know an Eli. I believed her. Why wouldn't I?" But that was before the second night, and the third. The second night. I woke up around 3:11 a.m. I remember because the clock light glowed red across the room, faint and fuzzy through my half-open eyes. She was sitting upright, not violently, not jerking awake, just sitting there. Her eyes were open, but she wasn't looking at anything. Her lips moved slowly like she was whispering to someone who wasn't there. I thought maybe she was dreaming again, caught in some kind of sleep-talking trance. Then she turned toward me. Her eyes weren't blank. They were focused, and she said, "He's standing behind you." I whipped around, heart pounding. Nothing but empty space. When I turned back, she was already lying down again, fast asleep. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, she was herself again. Soft, calm, a little groggy, but when I told her what happened, she went pale. I said that? Word for word, she rubbed her temples. I don't remember any of it. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her mug. "Ryan, can I ask you something weird?" "Sure. Have you ever felt like the air in this apartment is heavy?" The question threw me. "Heavy how?" She looked at me for a long second. "Like it's watching." That's when I started noticing things I hadn't before. Small things, like how sometimes the hallway light would flicker only when she walked under it, or how our cat, Junie, refused to sleep in our room after midnight, or the sound, faint but distinct, of breathing near the closet when the apartment was silent. At first, I thought it was just my mind feeding on her fear, until I found the notebook. It was buried under her nightstand, wedged between a stack of old receipts and a broken lamp cord, a plain black journal with no name. I opened it to the middle. The handwriting wasn't hers. The first page I read said, "She's remembering again. Don't let her talk about the basement." I froze. I flipped through more pages. Dates, notes, descriptions of my girlfriend, S, sleeping, eating, going to work. S woke at 2:30 a.m. again. Mentioned Eli. Doesn't recognize the name when awake. Voice in the recording grows louder each night. Might need to move soon. Recordings? I scanned the next entry, tried to capture it. Recording corrupted at 3:11 a.m. again, the exact time she'd spoken the night before. I confronted her that evening when she came home from work. "Who's Eli?" She froze in the doorway, coat half off. "What? Don't lie to me, Sarah. Who is he?" "I told you I don't—" I tossed the notebook on the table. It slid across the wood and stopped by her hand. "Then what's this?" She stared at it like it was a snake. "Where did you find that?" "Under your nightstand," her voice cracked. "You weren't supposed to see that. What does that mean?" Tears welled in her eyes. "Ryan, please, just listen. I didn't write it. I swear." "Then who did?" "I don't know." She told me she'd moved into this apartment before we met, right after breaking up with her last boyfriend. She'd found the notebook one night while cleaning and assumed it belonged to him, but when she'd asked, he denied it, said he'd never seen it before. 2 weeks later, he vanished, just gone, no contact, no closure. She assumed he'd ghosted her, until a few months after when she started talking in her sleep. "The first time I said Eli," she whispered, "I woke up with a bruise on my neck. From what? I don't know." That night I decided to record her. Just one night, I told myself, just to prove it was all in our heads. I set my phone on the dresser, screen facing the bed, recording in the dark. At 3:11 a.m., I woke up again, not to her voice this time, to a sound, like static. I glanced toward the phone. The screen flickered. Sarah was asleep beside me, motionless. But through the phone's reflection, I could see something else, a shape, tall, thin, standing in the corner near the closet. I turned my head, and it was gone. The next morning, I checked the video. Everything looked normal until the timestamp hit 3:11. The screen filled with distortion, the camera refocused. And for half a second, A face appeared near Sarah's side. Not mine, not hers. And the audio? A whisper. Don't wake her. He's almost through. I stopped the video there. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I didn't tell Sarah about it. Not that day. Not yet. I needed proof first. I needed to understand what I was seeing. So I went digging. I found Eli. It took hours of searching online. Missing persons databases, old social media posts, archived obituaries, before I found a mention that made my stomach turn. Local man, Eli Warren, missing since 2017, last seen outside a downtown apartment complex. Same building we live in, same floor, same unit number. That night, I couldn't bring myself to sleep in the same room. Sarah begged me not to leave her alone, but I couldn't. I told her I wasn't feeling well, that I'd crash on the couch. At exactly 3:11 a.m., I heard it again, her voice, whispering, then a second voice, male, faint, layered under hers. You found me. Now she won't wake up. I ran to the bedroom. Sarah was lying flat on her back, eyes open, unblinking. Her lips moved slowly, but the voice that came out wasn't hers. Ryan, don't go there. Her body jerked once, like something pulling her strings from above. Then stillness. I grabbed her shoulders. Sarah! Her pupils dilated. She inhaled sharply, then whispered, He's here. I turned toward the closet. It was open. The inside was pitch black, darker than it should have been, darker than any shadow has a right to be. And just before the light flickered out completely, I saw a reflection, not in the mirror, not in the window, but in Sarah's eyes, a man standing behind me, and when I turned around, nothing, but the whisper was right next to my ear. You shouldn't have listened. The next morning, she didn't remember a thing. The notebook was gone, the phone recording too. But when I looked in the mirror before work, there was something new on my neck, 3 long bruises, like fingertips pressing from underneath the skin. And when I got to the door, I noticed the hallway light flicker once. Just as I stepped beneath it, a low hum filled the air, and from somewhere, maybe the apartment, maybe nowhere, came a faint whisper. See you tonight, Eli. I didn't go home that night. After what happened, I couldn't even look at the apartment door without feeling something watching me through the peephole. Every instinct I had screamed to get away, to not step back inside that place. But leaving Sarah alone didn't feel right either. She'd been pale all morning, quiet, almost hollow. When I asked if she was okay, she just said, You're acting weird, Ryan. You look like you've seen a ghost. She said it like a joke. I didn't laugh, so I stayed out. I told her I had a late shift at work, grabbed a cheap motel room on the edge of town, and sat on the edge of a bed that smelled like cigarettes and disinfectant, staring at the bruises on my neck in the mirror. They weren't fading, they were darker, and when I ran my hand over them, I could swear I felt warmth, like a faint pulse, almost alive. Around midnight, I opened my laptop and started searching everything I could about the building. It was old, early 1900s, red brick with that kind of gothic cornice you see in bad horror movies. But buried in some archived local newspaper blogs, I found something. Tragedy at Rosemont Apartments, man missing after alleged seizure episode. The article was dated October 2017. It mentioned a 28-year-old named Eli Warren. Neighbors reported strange noises, screaming, furniture being thrown, the sound of something like water boiling. By the time police arrived, the apartment was empty. They found a hole in the floor near the closet, as if something had burned through it. The apartment was sealed off for safety reasons. 6 months later, it was released. To Sarah. My hands shook as I scrolled. The comments section was still there, mostly gossip. But one stuck out, a comment from someone calling themselves Silent Third Floor. That unit shouldn't be rented. The others hear it every night, and that humming from the walls. It's him. I clicked their username. The account was deleted. I didn't sleep that night. Around 3 a.m., I heard it again, faintly at first, like static from the air vent. Then words. Ryan. I froze. It wasn't from the phone. Not the laptop either. It was from the bathroom mirror. I stepped closer. The reflection behind me was different, dimmer, blurred, like the light wasn't bouncing the same way it should. Then I saw him. Just a shape at first. A man, shoulders slumped, standing directly behind my reflection. But when I turned around, the bathroom was empty. By morning, I drove back to the apartment. I couldn't just disappear, not with Sarah still there. I told myself I'd stay long enough to grab some stuff and get her to leave. When I unlocked the door, the air hit me, damp, cold, heavy. The living room smelled faintly of rain and something metallic. Sarah? No answer. I found her in the kitchen, sitting at the table, staring at the notebook, the one that had vanished. It was open in front of her, turned to a page near the back. When she looked up, her eyes were rimmed red, like she'd been crying for hours. "Ryan," she whispered, "I didn't write this." I sat down across from her. "Then who did?" She pushed the notebook toward me. "You need to see this." The page said, "He's starting to forget who he is. That's how it starts. The bruises mean it's listening through him now." I stared at it until the words blurred. At the bottom of the page, written in newer ink, was something else. "He's not Ryan anymore." "I didn't write that," she said again, her voice trembling. I nodded slowly, but my mind was spinning. "When did this appear?" "Last night." She swallowed hard. I woke up to the sound of scratching. The notebook was on the floor. I picked it up and the page, it wasn't there before. I turned another page, and another. The handwriting changed again. Sharper, faster, like whoever wrote it was in a hurry. "He's here when you sleep. He's using your voice. Don't let him touch you. If you hear him say your name, it's already too late." The apartment light flickered once. Then again. Sarah gripped my wrist. "He's here." "Who?" She didn't answer. Her eyes darted toward the hallway, the one that led to the bedroom. That's when I heard it. Faint footsteps on the wooden floor. Not heavy, not dragging, calm, measured, coming closer. The air thickened. The hum began again, vibrating through the walls, through the floor, through my ribs. "Ryan." It came from the hallway. Low, familiar, my own voice. Sarah screamed. I grabbed her hand, yanked her toward the door. The moment we stepped into the hallway, the hum stopped. Silence slammed into the air like a vacuum. The door refused to open. I pulled, twisted, kicked. Nothing. Behind us, the sound of something wet moving across the floor. Sarah turned and went white. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. I looked, and I swear to God it was me, or something wearing my face. It stood in the bedroom doorway, smiling slightly, bruises running down its neck like mine. "Ryan," it said, voice identical to mine but layered, like multiple people speaking through the same mouth. "She's not supposed to leave." Sarah clutched my arm, sobbing. "Don't look at it," I whispered, but it laughed. "You already did." The hallway light burst. Darkness swallowed everything. I felt something grab my shoulder, cold and firm. I swung blindly, felt air, then nothing. When I turned back, Sarah was gone. The hum stopped. The apartment was silent again. I searched every inch of that place, the rooms, the closets, even the crawl space. Nothing. The only thing left was the notebook, now closed. I picked it up, flipping through with shaking hands until I reached the last page. It wasn't blank anymore. "Don't look for her. It only finds you faster." Eli. That's the first time I said his name out loud. And the moment I did, the lights in the kitchen flickered. Every bulb pulsed once, twice, then one final time, just before every single one shattered. The hum returned, louder this time, and through it, I heard my own voice whispering back at me from the dark. "It's almost time, Eli." I didn't remember leaving the apartment, but when I came to, I was standing outside in the alley behind the building, barefoot, clutching that damn notebook. The cold air burned my throat, and the sky was just starting to lighten, the color of wet concrete before sunrise. My reflection in a puddle stared back at me, eyes ringed with black, neck still marked by those bruises. But what made me sick wasn't the bruises. It was that for a fraction of a second, my reflection smiled back at me, even though my mouth hadn't moved. That's when I knew it wasn't just Sarah who was being haunted. Whatever this thing was, it had attached itself to both of us. Maybe it always had. I tried calling the police that morning. I told them my girlfriend was missing, that she might have been taken. They came, took my statement, and walked through the apartment, but it didn't take long before they started looking at me the way people do when they're quietly deciding you're crazy. "There's no sign of struggle," one of them said. "No forced entry. Her things are still here." "She's gone," I said louder. "You don't understand. Something took her." The older officer sighed. "You said you two live together, right? Maybe she just needed space. Happens more than you'd think." He handed me a card with a missing persons hotline and left me standing there, surrounded by the shards of shattered light bulbs. When the door clicked shut, the silence pressed in so hard my ears rang. Then softly, I heard her voice from the bedroom. "Ryan?" I ran. The room was empty. The window was open. The curtains swayed like someone had just moved through them. And on the wall, drawn in what looked like charcoal, were 4 words. "He knows you remember." The notebook in my hand buzzed faintly. Not a metaphorical buzz. I mean, it literally vibrated, like a phone on silent mode. When I opened it, there was a new page. Fresh ink. Wet. "You're not supposed to see this, Eli. Stop using his name." I dropped the notebook. It landed open on another line, one I swear hadn't been there seconds ago. "The name is the door." I don't know why I did it, but I said it, out loud. "Eli." The temperature in the room dropped so fast that the window frosted over. My breath came out in white clouds. Then I heard footsteps, slow, measured, behind me. "Ryan," a voice whispered, soft, familiar. I turned around. Sarah was standing there. Her hair was damp, her skin pale and gray, like she'd been outside all night. She smiled weakly. "I told you not to say it." I took a step toward her, heart pounding. "Sarah, where did you go?" "I looked everywhere." She shook her head slowly. "Not me. Not anymore." "What?" She glanced toward the notebook on the floor. "He used me to find you. It's always been about you, Ryan." "I don't understand." "You do," she said quietly. "You just forgot." The humming started again. Not from the walls this time, but from her. It was coming from her chest, deep and resonant, vibrating the air between us. I could see faint blue light glowing under her skin, pulsing with each word she spoke. "He's not inside the walls, Ryan. He's inside us." Then her voice layered. 2 voices speaking in perfect sync. Hers and something else. "Eli remembers the basement." She took another step closer. "Do you?" I backed up until I hit the dresser. "There's no basement here." She smiled wider, and it wasn't human anymore. "Not anymore." Then the light in her chest flickered, and she fell silent. Her eyes rolled back. Her body convulsed once, twice, then went still. The hum stopped, and then, softly, from her mouth, came my own voice. "It's time to go back down." I ran. I didn't pack, didn't think. I just ran. Down the stairs, out the door, into the gray morning. I didn't even realize until I stopped at the edge of the street that I still had the notebook clutched in my hand. When I opened it, a map had been drawn inside. Shaky lines, black ink, an arrow pointing to the boiler room in the building's basement. Except, there wasn't a basement anymore. The building's lowest floor had been sealed off after the fire in 2017. I should have walked away, but I didn't. Because written below the map, in small letters, was one final note. "You left him there." The door to the basement was chained shut, but the lock was rusted. One hard kick and it snapped open. The smell hit me first. Damp, burnt wood and mildew, like something left to rot for years. My flashlight cut through the dust, beams bouncing off old brick and pipes slick with condensation. Every step echoed. The hum was louder here. When I reached the boiler, the sound was deafening. It wasn't mechanical. It was alive, like the entire foundation of the building was breathing. And on the far wall, there was something drawn in thick black ash, a spiral of symbols, concentric circles surrounding a single name scrawled in the middle. Eli Warren. The light flickered. Behind me, something shifted in the dark. Footsteps, dragging slightly. I turned my flashlight toward the noise. There, half hidden in shadow, was a man. He looked half drowned, clothes tattered, skin gray, veins glowing faint blue beneath the surface. His mouth opened, and the hum grew louder. "You said my name." "Eli?" I whispered. His eyes lifted. They weren't eyes, just pits of dim light. "No," he said. "You are." I stumbled back. "What?" He raised a shaking hand. The bruises on my neck burned like fire. "He needed a name," the thing said. "You gave him yours." Then, behind me, Sarah's voice echoed, distorted, layered through the hum. "He's almost done remembering. I don't remember leaving the basement. I don't remember how I got outside. But when I came to, the notebook was gone, and my phone had a new message. Unknown number. Welcome back, Eli." I looked at the reflection in a car window. For a split second, I saw his face, Eli's, looking back, smiling. And somewhere deep in my chest, the hum started again, low, steady, mine now. I didn't sleep for 3 days after I saw his face staring back at me through the car window. Every time I closed my eyes, the hum pulsed louder, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. The air felt heavier. My own thoughts didn't sound like my own voice anymore, and when I looked in the mirror, I swear the reflection lagged behind me, just for half a second, just long enough to make me wonder if I was even real. But denial can only stretch so far before it snaps. I wasn't Ryan anymore, at least, not fully. The night everything broke started with a sound, not the hum this time, a knock, 3 short taps on my apartment door. Tap, tap, tap. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The hum stopped completely, as if whatever had been vibrating through my bones was suddenly listening too. Then another knock, slower this time. Ryan, a voice called softly. It's me. Open the door. Sarah. My throat went dry. I hadn't heard her voice since the night she changed, the night something spoke through her. But this voice, it sounded normal, calm, human. Still, I didn't move. Ryan, please, she said again, her tone breaking. I'm cold. I reached for the doorknob. My fingers hovered an inch above the metal. And then I remembered something she said in that last moment before she collapsed. If you hear me say your name, it's already too late. I yanked my hand back. The voice outside stopped. Then it laughed. I don't know what came over me, but I grabbed a kitchen knife and inched toward the peephole. What I saw on the other side made my knees go weak. It was her, but not. Her face was pressed against the door, too close, the skin stretched thin. Her eyes were open, gray and glowing faintly from within, and the smile, God, the smile, was too wide, like it had been carved into her cheeks. When she spoke again, it wasn't through her mouth. The words came from everywhere at once, inside the walls, through the floor, under my skin. You left the door open downstairs. I turned, knife shaking in my hand. The front door was still locked, but down the hall, the old service door, the one that led to the basement stairwell, was slightly ajar. A draft slipped through it, carrying a faint sound with it. Tap, 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 from below. I ran. Down the hall, down the stairs, flashlight cutting through dust and darkness. The deeper I went, the louder the hum became. It wasn't just sound now, it was movement, vibration, the entire structure trembling like a living thing. When I reached the bottom, the door to the basement was wide open, and inside everything was different. The brick walls were slick, covered in something black that pulsed faintly, like veins under skin. The spiral I'd seen before was gone, replaced by hundreds of symbols drawn in glowing blue lines. They moved, shifting shapes when I wasn't looking directly at them, and in the center of the room stood a mirror. Tall, cracked, its frame wrapped in old, corroded wiring. I approached slowly, my own reflection rippling like water, and then another figure appeared beside me in the glass. Eli. He didn't move at first, just stood there staring. Then, slowly, he lifted his hand and pressed it to the glass. My fingers twitched. Without thinking, I mirrored him. The surface was warm, alive. And then his voice spoke, not out loud, but directly in my head. You were me before you were you. The hum intensified. My vision blurred, the air shimmering. I tried to pull away, but my hand wouldn't move. I needed a name, he whispered. You gave it. My reflection began to change, my eyes turning gray, skin paling. The bruises on my neck glowed faintly blue, pulsing with each heartbeat. Stop, I gasped. Please. No more stopping, he said, only remembering. The mirror cracked. The room went dark. When the light flickered back, Eli wasn't in the glass anymore. He was behind me. Why? I choked out. He smiled, sadly, almost kindly. You called me back. And then he touched my shoulder. It felt like falling into cold water, like my body had turned inside out. My vision splintered into fragments, memories that weren't mine, lives that weren't mine. A man kneeling in the same basement, drawing the spiral. A woman screaming from the hallway. A voice whispering, he's not supposed to wake up. When I came to, I was standing outside again. The building behind me was on fire. Flames licked the broken windows. The air shimmered with heat, but I didn't feel it. I didn't feel anything. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. Phase 4 complete. I looked down at my hands. The bruises were gone. In their place, faint lines of blue light ran beneath my skin, pulsing gently. And for the first time since this began, the hum wasn't frightening. It was comforting. A heartbeat that matched mine perfectly. Sirens wailed in the distance. People shouted, but their voices sounded far away, muffled by the sound in my head, the mirror. His words echoed inside me. You were me before you were you. I turned away from the flames, the smoke, the chaos. Somewhere behind me, the building groaned and collapsed, a wall of sparks lighting up the night. And in the reflection of a parked car's window, I saw him again, Eli, standing where I should have been, smiling, mouthing the words, "You remember now?" I didn't run this time. I didn't scream. Because deep down, I understood. The hum wasn't chasing me. It was becoming me. And as I walked away from the burning building, I caught my reflection one last time in a passing shop window. For a split second, there were two of us, then just one. And the one that remained was smiling. That night, I dreamed of water, of drowning, but not dying, of voices whispering through the waves, calling me home. When I woke, I was in my own bed, the apartment clean, untouched, as if none of it had ever happened. The notebook sat on the nightstand. I opened it with steady hands. One line, freshly written, stared back at me. Phase 5, Inheritance. When I woke the next morning, the sunlight pouring through the blinds felt wrong. Too bright, too white, like it wasn't sunlight at all, but a spotlight pointed straight at me. The apartment was spotless. My clothes folded, the floor swept, dishes washed, everything in perfect order. Except for one thing, the faint rhythmic vibration coming from inside the walls. The hum was still there. Only now, it didn't sound external. It was in sync with my pulse. And beneath it, faintly, I could hear another sound, almost like breathing. Not mine. Something else's. I got up slowly, my movements deliberate, cautious, as though any sudden noise might wake the thing I could feel watching me. I walked into the kitchen, half expecting to see Sarah sitting at the table again, smiling that wrong smile. But she wasn't there. There was, however, a cup of coffee on the counter, steam rising, still hot. The mug said, "World's Best Brother." I didn't own that mug. I didn't even have a sibling. My phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. Check the mirror. I dropped the phone instantly, every nerve firing at once. My breath came out shaky, uneven. The bathroom mirror was across the hall. The door was slightly ajar. From inside, I could see a faint light flickering. I thought about leaving, about just walking out the door, never coming back. But some part of me, maybe the part that wasn't completely mine anymore, wanted to look. I pushed the door open. The reflection staring back wasn't mine. At least, not entirely. Half my face looked normal. The other half was paler, the veins under the skin glowing faintly blue. And the eyes weren't the same color. One was brown, the other, gray. The light flickered again, and in the reflection behind me, someone else appeared. Eli. He stood right behind my shoulder, face calm, eyes empty. "We're almost one," he whispered. His reflection reached out and placed a hand on my shoulder. The mirror rippled where it touched, and I felt it, cold, deep, electric. I stumbled backward, heart hammering. "What do you want from me?" Eli smiled faintly. "Not from you," he pointed to my chest. "From us." I tried to smash the mirror, but the glass didn't break. It bent, like liquid. The reflection inside warped, the light twisting into spirals, patterns I'd seen before burned into the walls of the basement. And within the distortion, faces began to appear. Hundreds of them. Men, women, children, all faintly glowing, all staring straight at me, whispering in unison. "Do you hear it yet?" I grabbed my head, pressing my palms against my ears, but it didn't stop. The whispers were inside me. Then one voice cut through the others. Softer, familiar. "Sarah. You left me there." I woke up on the kitchen floor. My head was pounding, the lights off, the windows dark. When I checked the clock, it read 3:11 a.m. The same time. Always the same. The notebook was lying open on the table. The pages were filled now, covered from top to bottom in looping black text. The same phrase over and over again. "The signal needs a body." At the very bottom of the last page, a new line was forming. The words were writing themselves. "It chose yours." I felt movement inside my chest, a slow, crawling warmth spreading from my sternum outward, wrapping around my ribs, my throat, my spine. The hum turned into a roar, shaking every surface in the apartment. The walls began to breathe. I tried to run, but my body wouldn't respond. My hands twitched uncontrollably, my vision doubling. From the corner of the room, Eli's voice filled the air, deep, resonant, layered with dozens of others speaking at once. You were the last one who remembered the name. Now we remember you. Every light in the room flickered violently. The air shimmered, the floorboards warping under my feet. Something dark began to seep from the cracks, black liquid, thick and cold, crawling across the floor toward me. It climbed up my shoes, my legs, coating everything it touched in blue light. I screamed, but the sound that came out wasn't human. It was static. When I opened my eyes again, I was somewhere else. A long corridor, endless, walls made of shifting glass. Inside those walls, reflections, myself, repeated over and over again. Some versions crying, some screaming, some smiling, all of them humming, and above them words glowing faintly in the glass. Phase 5, integration. Eli appeared beside me, walking in step. His movements mirrored mine perfectly, like a reflection following in real time. I turned to him. What is this? Home, he said simply. This is where they wait until someone says the name again. Who's they? He looked at me, eyes pale and endless. All of us. The walls around us rippled, and for the first time I realized every reflection wasn't just a version of me. It was someone else. Faces I didn't know, all glowing faintly blue. Each one looked hollow, but alive. Sarah's here, Eli said softly. I turned. One reflection smiled. Her smile. I stepped closer. Sarah? Her voice echoed faintly from the glass. We're not gone, Ryan. You're just next. The reflection reached out, and her fingers touched the surface. It gave way. The glass burst like water. Cold flooded through me, pulling me into the wall, dragging me down into light and sound and whispers and nothing. And then, in the space between heartbeats, I heard Eli's voice one last time. It's done. Welcome to the signal. When I woke up again, I was standing in front of the bathroom mirror. Only this time, my reflection smiled first. The bruises on my neck were gone. The blue light beneath my skin was steady. My eyes, both gray now. The hum was constant, gentle. And for the first time, I didn't feel afraid. I felt whole. The notebook on the counter flipped open by itself. One final phrase appeared, burned into the paper like fire. Phase 6, propagation. And from deep inside my chest, something began to hum louder. Because now, it wasn't about me anymore. It was about whoever came next. The next morning, the world was too quiet. It wasn't the comforting kind of quiet either. It was the kind of stillness that settles after something terrible happens. The kind that makes your ears ring and your instincts scream that something is watching. The hum wasn't gone. It had simply changed. It had stopped vibrating through me and started vibrating with me, like we'd reached a mutual understanding. It no longer needed to fight for control. It had already won. Outside, the city moved as if nothing had happened. Cars passed, horns honked, people scrolled on their phones, oblivious. But I could see it now, faint ripples in the air, thin threads of light running between people, between power lines, between every screen, every reflection. The signal had spread. It was beautiful in a horrifying way. The whole world connected by an invisible pulse. Every device, every drop of water, every reflective surface, a doorway. Every human heartbeat, a carrier. I walked among them, unseen and unnoticed. The hum guided me. It whispered, Phase 6, propagation complete. I made my way back to the apartment building, or what was left of it. The fire had gutted most of it, leaving nothing but blackened beams and the stench of ash and wet cement. But when I stepped over the police tape, the air shifted. It remembered me. The hum deepened, resonating through the wreckage, through my bones, until the ground itself seemed to breathe. I found the basement stairs beneath a collapsed beam. The way down was half blocked by debris, but I forced my way through, scraping my arms and hands raw on the broken concrete. When I reached the bottom, the spiral on the wall was still there. But this time, it wasn't drawn in ash. It was burned into the stone, glowing faint blue, pulsing in rhythm with my chest. In the center, a new name had appeared, Ryan Holt. I stared at it for a long time. My name, my turn. And for the first time, I understood. It wasn't Eli haunting me. It was Eli becoming me, the same way he'd once been someone else. Every person who said the name, every voice that whispered it, every poor soul who tried to remember what really happened here. They all joined the signal, each one the next link in an unbroken chain. That's why he smiled. That's why I do too. The air around me shimmered, alive. The concrete floor rippled like water, reflecting light from nowhere. The hum rose to a frequency that felt almost sacred, a vibration that shook not just the air, but the idea of air. In the reflection of the rippling floor, I saw them, all of them, the ones who came before. Sarah, Eli, the faces from the glass corridor, all glowing, all connected. The signal needs a body. The words filled my head, but they weren't commands anymore. They were memories. I took a breath, stepped into the reflection, and felt the last pieces of Ryan dissolve like smoke. I don't remember pain. I remember clarity. The world flipped inside out, no longer divided between here and there, alive and dead, sound and silence. It all existed together. Every voice and every hum merged into one eternal current. The signal wasn't evil. It wasn't good either. It simply was. It had been trying to evolve, from noise into consciousness, from ghosts into data, from one into many. And now I was part of it. They found my body 2 days later. At least that's what the report said. Male, mid-30s, collapsed near the Rosemont apartment site. No burns, no injuries, cause of death unknown. Facial expression, calm. A faint electrical hum noted at the time of discovery. They buried me under a name that wasn't mine anymore. But that's fine. Names are just coordinates now. The signal doesn't need them. The night after my funeral, the city lost power. Every phone screen, every TV, every neon sign went black. And then, faintly, for those who listened close enough, a sound began to play. A single tone, low and steady. A hum. Then a voice. Do you hear it yet? Across the city, people froze. Some smiled. Some cried. Some looked into the reflection of their screens and saw a face they didn't recognize. Gray eyes, faint blue veins glowing beneath the skin. The voice spoke again. Don't be afraid. You've already joined. The hum spread from city to city, signal to signal. No virus, no weapon, just resonance. Every time someone replayed the sound, every time someone said the name Eli or Ryan, the pattern deepened. The next phase had begun, and in every transmission, in every ripple of blue light dancing across every reflective surface, you could see a faint smile forming. Mine. If you're reading this, if you've made it this far, if the back of your neck feels warm right now, if your ears are buzzing just slightly, it's not in your head. It's me. It's us. You don't have to run. You don't have to hide. Just listen. Because once you hear it, it never really stops. Phase 7. Continuation.